I hadn't ever planned to write a memoir or not an autobiography. It had been suggested before, and something in me kind of resisted that. Although in my 2 or 3 most recent books, they've become a bit more personal. I'd found myself weaving a personal experience or a reflection into the issue, the abstract issue I was trying to address. And so there was a kind of an evolution taking place. The book actually literally starts in a graveyard in the middle of England, a very particular graveyard, a monk's graveyard. And I'd gone to that monastery as a boy of 14 to train to be a priest. I left the place in 1956 to go to Africa and never went back as a student or as a monk. It's no longer the monastery, it's now the Newark and Sherwood district offices. But for some reason, I've been going back repeatedly in a strange kind of Proustian way, not quite sure what I'm looking for my boyhood, looking where things changed. And every year in July, I've been going down and standing in that graveyard and reading the names of all these old monks who trained me, because I went there as a wee boy. And I loved them. I was impressed by them. It was a kindly place. And I would go there, and I didn't know why. And I would scrape the lichen off those old gravestones, 35 graves, in this little kind of shaded yard in the middle of this estate near the River Trent. And I went there in July 2009. I can remember it vividly because it was my daughter's birthday. I've got a daughter who lives in America, and she phoned me I had my mobile, and she asked me where I was, and I burst out crying and tried to explain to her where I was, and she got very upset, and I said, it's all right, it's some kind of deep emotion. And so I wrote that day, I wrote that event. I found I just wanted to do a piece of writing about finding my way back into that graveyard. I wrote this fairly personal opening chapter. Then I reverted to type and started discussing issues and big questions and all of that. And when I showed it to Jamie and Nick at Canongate, they said the strength of this book is the memoir. It's the personal memory stuff. And okay, you'll want to discuss big issues because in a sense your life has been wrestling with them. The biggest issue of all, is there an ultimate mystery and is there ultimate meaning in the universe? But we think that you should do it through walking your own life. And so I started that. I hadn't actually thought it would become a book, but I could see the makings of one. And so that's how it came about. It was almost an accident of my going back to try and seek the meaning of my own boyhood. I chose to be a priest when I was 12 years old, and I ended up as a bishop who found he couldn't stay in the church. And so the book ends with another walk. I've left. I've resigned, and I walk in the pendulums trying to figure out what had happened. Am I still a Christian? Do I believe anything? And between those two walks, as it were, the walk to the graveyard and my compulsive, obsessive walking in the pendulums, trying to wrestle with these big issues, my life is laid out. Not as an autobiographical way, it's a memoir. A memoir is more creative than an autobiography. You're seeking to interpret, to find yourself. And I did discover a lot about myself in writing the book.